Hello, it's Eric from E.M.B.R, and today we are doing Stage 3 of Cityscapes, Richmond UCI Worlds. This one's flat to start, hilly at the end. It's going to be a fight. All about the end on this one. We'll see how it goes. Heading into this, looking at the route profile, I definitely thought the front of it would be fairly calm and it would be all about the back. We'll time lapse it as we go, but let's just say the front was a little bit different than expected, and so was the back. Let's go. As always, speeding up part of the race here, I will be doing commentary and chapter marking, slowing things down, all those sorts of things. Front of it was a little bit faster than expected because KK decided he was going to pull fast. It's KK off the front. That's what nobody's chasing. Nobody cares. I said nobody cares, but reality is if there's a rabbit off the front, people are going to chase. And eventually they do. And I'm trying not to get too aggressive about it, but there's 3-4 up the road. I need to be with them. So I am pushing in. But if you notice my bike drifting to the left, there is a controller issue causing my bike to constantly drift to the left whether I have any input or not. I'm trying to fix that. So KK off the front, pace really high, my steering not working, the beginning's not going as expected for sure. But I do try to settle in the best I can, get in drafts of the chasers. Not really push. If they're way up the front, I just want to be in wheels somewhere, and if KK's disappearing, KK's disappearing. So pretty calm about it, and trying to still fix the steering throughout this. I'm plugging, unplugging, pairing, repairing, just doing whatever I can, because it kind of sucks to be sitting on the left out of draft when the pace is going high. Definitely not ideal, but I'm working with it. Also just trying to keep track of how things are going and settle in the best I can. And that pretty much continues here. Pace is pretty hot. People are still pushing off the front. I'm fighting with steering. You can see me reaching over. Again, I'm just powering things off, replugging them. Eventually I do get it to work. I don't recall exactly when, but basically when my bike stops swerving left and right, and when and here I'm having to manually do the power because I had the right controller turned off, so I had to manually mouse the power up. But yeah, just fighting with it the best I can, trying to get it to work. And I think, like I said, eventually I do get it sorted out. We settle in. For the front, a little bit more interesting than expected, and now people are still pushing off the front. So the whole front of this is much hotter than was expected, and it doesn't really relent. My steering's sorted out, but people are still pushing pretty hard off the front here. And again, another 2 to 4 up the road. A little bit of a gap, which I didn't want to form, and now here I am pulling it back, but I don't need, you can just look visually, 4 or 5 are up the road. Apologize, the orange riders nearby somehow got sorted by name rather than by gap, so it's not sorted very well, but you can just see up the road. I'm in 7th place. There's 6 riders up the road. I've got to catch him. This other dude here, there's a bunch, KK doing what he's doing. This guy on the the fun Zwift bike with fire socks pushing crazy watts, he agitates during this race a bit as well. The whole front of this is just silly between different Power Rangers doing what they're doing and just pushing the pace harder than expected. I will say, now that we're finally getting closer to the downhill, I'm expecting it to calm down a little bit, and it kind of does. You can see the power goes from orange and yellow and red to a little bit of green and blue here. Still some strangeness and oddities going on. You'll see here again. Here goes that Power Ranger in the French hat and the bike fire. So I mean, the whole visual of that's just perfect. Bang off the front again, and I'm like, I'm not chasing that crap. But again, somebody's out the front, and eventually the rest of the people, there's more fire, people will respond whether I want to chase or not. So just silliness in general, and it does make the whole front of this race a little bit different than we want. I'm just waiting for this hill to come, the downhill, so maybe that stupidness will stop. And yeah, mostly is settling down now. Again, I'm down again, the sort of yellow. Still a little bit of pushing off the front, but if I can stay in these wheels again, I'm not going to worry. I think it's KK this time. Yeah, it's KK again. Don't care. It's like some things you chase, some things you don't. Lessons learned. But here we go. Finally to the downhill. Outside of KK, the other person I'm really worried about is Kim Min-seong. Kim often races this Tuesday slot, and I know they can push crazy watts per kg, and I know not to chase them, but sometimes I can use them as a taxi and get in their draft. But if they really want to push, they're gonna break me. So watchful for that, and just trying to stay in draft and conserve some energy if I can, knowing that The fun part of this race is going to be at the very end when we get on those hills. Speaking of which, we're at the bottom of the first one. Here comes Libby. Libby is the longer of the two, so, and I'm also just, everybody's been sort of chilling for the last little bit, so I'm expecting some fireworks to come off. Still want to be in draft. I'm not trying to drive the pace here. I'm thinking people might not measure the effort on these two hills. Again, someone's way off the front. I don't need to chase a single at this point, whether it's KK or anybody else. I don't need to chase a single. I want to be in the wheels of the folks directly behind, which is where I'm at. My gut is if someone can go that hard, they're going to drop me, or if they can't go that hard, they're going to blow up and come back. So lots of fire socks going off. You saw my lightning go off a little bit, but mostly I'm trying to measure the effort. As we get to the steeper part at the end here, I'm popping feather, and now my lightning socks are going off. Trying to measure it, just do the work that I needed to do, and more than a few are up the road now, so I'm pushing some watts. Trying to make sure I get at least under the back of the chase group here, even if there's a single or a double up the road. If I'm with the chase, we should be okay, is the thought. Getting up here, some more fire socks at the banner. Yeah, everybody's power socks are going off, so yeah, two up the road, two that I'm right behind, a little bit of a hill here. I'm expecting this to come back together. Not feeling too stressed about it. KK, I think, dropped either here or somewhere in here. KK dropped, so no longer agitated the front of the race and then dropped. Whatever. I think that's Kim Min Seong off the front now. And again, I apologize for the riders not sorting correctly, but just following this hill down, taking some speed. I'm going to use my feather again just to push, save some efficiency here. I know we're going to have to push this hard to stay with the group. North of 600, maybe 700 watts, but yeah, we're pushing pretty hard. And again, not necessarily trying to be with the very front, but being with the chase. And this is just shattering. If you look at the dots on the map, shattering way more than I expected, to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, I expected this to be tough and for it to pull apart, but I expected still like a core group of 8 or 9 or something to be still here. And reality is that there's one up the road, which is Kim Min Seong. There is Utley, I think, who's ahead of me, and then it's just a gap. Like we broke the field apparently, and for once I'm on the right side of that break on something like ends with a after party or a bunch of hills like this. So kind of feeling good about that. Trying to pull back Kim Min Seong slowly, which we do. I wasn't trying to pull it back really fast. We're just trying to ride Utley's wheel to Kim. And now as they're, we're getting out of this long drag, this is where I really expected it to come apart, was everybody sticking together, blowing everything they had, and then getting to this hill and just not having anything left. Reality is everybody blew up on the two hills before, and now it's just us three. And I know, again, Kim is going to be a tough chase, but I'm like, all right, you're pushing, let me get in your wheel. Thing is, and you can find his name on, again, it's not sorted away, but if you look at Kim, he's pushing 8 to 9 watts per kg right now, and he will sustain that. It might drop to 7 for a second, but he's going to be pushing 8 to 9 plus watts per kg. I know I cannot hang with that for the next 700 meters. So I'm letting Kim's wheel go. I thought that Utley, who was with me, was going to be, I was trying to make sure I could beat them, but they kind of, even though I'm not pushing that hard, I'm like just north of 5 watts per kg. I guess they broke also on the hill. I mean, whatever, just the effort of the two hills was too much. So now it's Kim Min Seong off. I'm not catching them, and Utley, who's now like 6 seconds behind me, and the rest of the field's gone. So at this point, I'm just shooting for series time. I think I'm in the top 20 right now. So yeah, just hitting my arrow early, getting up to speed early, so I can just have more speed for this stretch rather than waiting to the end, and just trying to keep the highest kph I can over the final 300 meters or so, and clean. Not at all as expected, but a silver. Field broken completely. I'll take it. It's been a while since I've been on the podium in advance. This is not the race I would have expected it, given the ending. It doesn't really favor me, but yeah, it works. We got it. I'll say kaboom, kind of second place. It's all good.
Wow.
But here's the full results. As you can see, Kim Min-Young, 9 watts per kg over 1 minute. I did pretty well. I mean, 4.3 and coming in second. Not bad.
So KK must have dropped, agitated the race and dropped. Kim Min-Young, I just know I can't keep with him. So I used him as draft for as long as possible and then paced and hoped that was enough to hold off the rest, which I guess everybody blew up. Yeah, that whole front half with KK, plus my steering not working, trying to get that work. That was way harder in the front end than I expected. Calm down, which I did expect on the down. And the back was hard like I expected, but just KK dropped, and then, I don't know, I mean, I knew not to chase Kim, but I thought there'd be more people that stayed with that front. It'd be a little bit of a mad war of attrition on the final slow ramp. And that is not how it went down at all. Everybody blew up here. There's only like 3 of us left. I don't know. It's interesting. And the efforts really weren't that big. I don't know. Alright. More to come. There's going to be an addendum to this here. We're going to cool down, that we're going to do probably 4 minute at 5 watt per kg pace at 360 with either 1 for 1 rest or 5 minute rest, we'll see. And then after that we're going to turn off the fans and do a little bit of heat training at the end to finish off the day. Don't want the heat training to mess with intensity, but once the intensity is done and I'm already at the temp, just convenient and efficient to tack it on at the end.
So if you're just interested in the race, that part of the video is done. This next section here is just a little bit of post-race intervals, as well as a little bit of a preview on what we're doing with the Core 2 heat sensor, a little bit of heat training and how I'm fitting that into the overall training load, whether it's a dedicated day or in the case of something like an intensity day, how I'm fitting it in at the end of an intensity session. During my warm-up and during the race, I had all 3 fans on, the AC running, but I am in Florida. So even with that, if you look at the graph here, you can still see my temperature did peak up into zone 2 of a core heat zone a little bit. And now as I started to get into the cool down right after the race and before I started these intervals, a little bit of a rest, it started to come back down. What I was trying to do, though, it didn't come all the way back to baseline. So I was trying to do the intervals uncompromised, keeping the fans on, keeping dressed the way I am, but just putting in 360 watts of work and intervals. Figure that would get the temperature raised, and for the most part it kind of did on this first interval. Though I was watching, it was dropping more than expected. You can kind of see that dip after the initial spike. It dropped more than I thought it would. I was hoping I could maintain at least some of it, a little bit more of it, without compromising the interval. But yeah, I'm still testing this out. Worked fairly well though. Outside of the heat training part of this, I'm trying to get in just 2 more 4-minute efforts at 360 watts. I've already done pretty good amount of work in the race, just trying to extend that a little bit for an intensity day.
Kind of starting to come down, so.
And again, I don't want to compromise the intervals, but I figure I can start getting warmed back up on the second interval for 4 minutes. It's not going to compromise the interval, but by the end of it, hopefully the temperature will be back on the rise. Yeah, quick change, part of the 5-minute rest here. So 4 minute at 360, 5 minutes of rest, and now I'm right back on another 4 minutes at 360. And again, if we look at the graph, I'm still in that yellow dip, or that dip after the first peak. Maybe starting to rise a little bit by the end of this second interval. But more importantly, I'm feeling pretty good, even after the race effort, to be able to get in another 8 minutes basically at target pace, sustaining pretty well even on the fatigued legs. I've had pretty good amount of KJ work in at this point between the race. Even though it was a 20-minute race, it was pretty intense. So I felt pretty good, and temperature's coming back up.
I might do one more 2 minute just to Get the temp back up.
I know I kept the fans off for the first interval. I think even though I put the shirt on, I kept them off for the second interval as well. Now I turned them off completely for a final 2-minute interval.
Now the fans are off. The heat's picking back up for sure. The fans in the long sleeve. You may need to do more if it's winter or you live in a more temperate place in Florida in the summer. But this is all the more I need to do. Turn the fans off, put on a long sleeve.
So 2 more minutes at 360. That brings me to 10 minutes for the post-race part of the workout. For a Tuesday intensity day, that's pretty good. The race put in a good amount of work, and then this 10 minutes at 360 kind of finishes it off. But that's mostly muscular fatigue and those sort of things. The zone 2 heat training is going to be far less on the legs and more just on central nervous system and overall stress, but we can bear it.
Try to just settle in now. Middle of zone 2. At the end, I'll show you the solution I have for the swimming pool forming beneath my feet. Alright, we're in the last couple minutes here at 102 Fahrenheit, 39°C. Kind of settled in for the most part. Occasionally, I'm following a pace creep, so occasionally pushing a little harder, but mostly you can see the average there past 30 minutes. 240 right in the middle of zone 2. Temperature has settled at 102. I will say, lesson learned, even just having the legs off is giving an escape. It's definitely higher at the same or lower power yesterday, around the same time. And I can feel my legs are cool, but quick changing during the ride, I figured the shirt would be enough, and it mostly is. I'm still in the right adaptation zone in zone 3 from a core perspective, and I'll show the app. So, still a good heat impulse, but I could definitely stand to use the legs to trap a little more heat. Keep the muscular effort down for the same heat impulse. We just ticked over to 102.1. Fahrenheit's a little more granular than Celsius, so I like to keep it there. But 39°C, a little bit over. Right at the 60-minute mark. And we're going to shut it down. Temperature will, if it does what it did yesterday, will continue to drift even after I stop here. But that's an hour and a half for the day. That's with quite a bit of intensity, both heat and aerobic, muscular, glycolytic. Any bit of intensity you want, it's all mixed in there today. Generally felt like that worked. My feedback in the moment. If this had been no race, I would have done more than 4 minutes at 360. But with the race already in there, I already had sort of, call it 2 or 3 intervals checked off. So I just did 2 more, 2.5. Helped me stay. My temperature started to drop, so that helped me get back to temp. And then we just, back half of this was all zone 2 heat training. Even got a little bit of heat in the race, etc. But I had the fan. I mean, I was trying to cool as effectively as possible. Just even with that in Florida, it's hot. So heat didn't affect the quality of my intensity. Just added on at the end. And I'll show the swimming pool underneath me in a second, but we're hot. And temp is still stable at 102.1 at the moment. Yeah, that squishy sound, that's about how everything feels right now. The water solution. Hard to find exactly what I wanted. I wanted a silicone mat with a lip so the water could pool there and not flow over into the floor. see all that.
But I managed to find something that fit perfectly under the bike, has a lip, and is containing everything quite nicely. That is a cat litter mat of all things, but it does what I want it to do. That was just my second day with the Core 2 sensor. It arrived over the weekend. Yesterday on Monday was the first day I got to use it, and I did sort of 65 minutes, just zone 2, slowly getting up to temperature. Monday was dedicated to heat training, so I started the session in full leggings, full long sleeves, no fans right from the start. Took me about 30 minutes to get up to temperature, and then we held it right to the end and a little bit thereafter, so it worked pretty well. And then here's the graph for today's session, as well as the cumulative heat adaptation score. So 17%, about 8% on dedicated session yesterday, and then another 9% on today's session. I'm going to keep alternating. I'm going to do fully dedicated session a little bit longer on an hour and a half zone 2 tomorrow, and we'll keep it going, and I'll be updating more as we go with it, but it seems to be working pretty well. Seems to be pretty easy to fit into the training load. More to come. See you guys.